and then I read for you. It's very simple, beginning with, of course, the title, The Invisible Ruler, prologue. When Colton Player arrived at the University of Würzburg, it was not the lectures that defined his student life. His natural ability to attract people was immediately apparent. Soon his student apartment became the social hub of the Western Wing. The dinners began modestly with a few classmates, wine, beer, and simple dishes. However, word quickly spread. Colton had grown up in a world where meals signified togetherness. He cooked with the same ease that others sharpened their pencils. A stew could evoke the aromas of Switzerland. A loaf of bread could taste like Patagonia, and a spicy soup could encapsulate the flavors of entire continents. The evenings expanded in scope. Philosophical Germans, Italian medical students, French linguists, and Swedish exchange students gathered. Conversation shifted from Immanuel Kant to Count Basie in an instant, moving effortless from seriousness to laughter. The wine played its part, but it was Colton's manner that made his guests feel heard and included. It was not only fellow students who attended on Fridays. Occasionally, a professor would drop by after the Christmas break, drawn by the rumors. Here, Herr, difficult word, hierarchies dissolved. A teacher would sit alongside a newly enrolled student, both equally engrossed in intense discussions about world politics and science. At times, love emerged. Fleeting glances crossed the tables, and a hand lingered a moment too long. Such moments extended the evenings further. When guests finally staggered down the stone stairs late at night, others remained behind until morning. Those hours were quieter and more intimate. Friendships were forged for decades. It was here he learned to listen and to understand the world through the perspectives of others. It was in his simple student apartment in Würzburg that his ability to gather people around him began to take shape, and a skill that would serve him throughout his life. 55 years later, he could see all the way to the bottom. Next to him, tall reeds swayed, and along the shore lay large, warm, smooth stones. Just as in his childhood, he felt the healing energy beneath his feet. When the milky white sand pressed between his toes, a timeless awareness spread through his body. The place radiated absolute peace. How could this be? When they awoke, they were lying on the asphalt slope outside the house. The sun was warm, the air was filled with sea salt, and the wind rustled in the treetops. Colton opened his eyes. It was as if he had never left the island. Emma rose slowly, stretched her arms toward the sky, and took a deep breath. Yippee, she whispered. Ulrike sat beside her, legs folded, gazing out over the vast sea. So, what happens now? Asked Emma. Her voice was soft as she looked at Colton. Now we'll make dinner and talk this through, he replied. Then he took Emma's hand and started walking toward the front door, with Ulrike close behind. Chapter 1. Casa Player. Throughout my teenage years, I was allowed to find myself at my own pace. He ensured I had the space I believed I needed, despite our differing backgrounds. When necessary, I expressed my discontent vocally and assertively, even though I lacked for nothing. In fact, quite the opposite. From the moment he welcomed me into his family, I found a home I had not known existed. Today, I am a newly graduated architect. We typically maintain contact at least a couple of times per week. However, having received no response for over a week, I decided to travel to his new residence in Menorca. Engaging Urs in conversation about locating the key was akin to speaking to a lamppost. I also had to extract from him the house's location. He must be overwhelmed with the children. I've only been there once, he reiterated twice, emphasizing that I should refrain from moving anything. I would hear about it if I did. After a smooth flight from Cluten to the Mediterranean island, I took a taxi to Casa Player, or rather a short distance from it. Colton had always asserted that one should never disclose the exact location. I could not fathom where he derived that notion. As I crawled on my knees in search of the key, I found it difficult to divert my gaze from the facade. Lilacs, ivy, and various other plants unknown to me climbed in clusters up the sand-white wall. The facade facing west was adorned with an array of colorful, breathtaking flowers. As I stood admiring the house's beauty, I realized that the wall's design was no mere coincidence. A choreographer, as he used to say, was undoubtedly behind it. Colton never allowed thoughtlessness to prevail. Better to let creativity run free before comfort takes over, he often proclaimed. Personally, I have always considered that perspective somewhat self-righteous. I lifted a small round stone and discovered a sun-bleached scrap of paper underneath. After some effort, I finally managed to decipher its message. Unlocked. Carefully, I placed the stone back, stood up, approached the door, grasped the handle, and opened it. As I entered the hallway, I recalled that throughout all the years I had known him, he never locked doors, which brought a smile to my face. However, once inside, I turned the key and ensured the front door was securely locked. The silence of the past week instilled a certain unease within me. I was uncertain about what I would find in the house. It was only after he sold the townhouse in Zurich and relocated all his belongings to the Mediterranean Sea that I realized he was truly serious. He needed change. Adelia's passing profoundly affected me. The joy had vanished, along with the spirited fire in his eyes. He had always asserted that seriousness flourishes best in solitude. The transformation was unmistakable. Our bond had been strong from the very beginning, yet paternal distance remained. He demonstrated his care long before I became a member of his family. It had been over 20 years since my biological parents died in a car accident. The suspicion that an argument in the vehicle may have contributed to the tragedy lingered for a considerable time. I had spent extended periods at the Players prior to the accident and was already acquainted with Adelia, Beat, and Urs. When Colton asked if I wanted to move in with them, I did not hesitate. From that moment, my life changed dramatically. My academic performance improved, I made new friends, and I began skiing on weekends. On weekdays, I frequently swam with Colton, just a 10-minute bike ride from Sutton. He also taught me to sail a European dinghy on Lake Zurich alongside the boys.